What up, Elementals? It's your boy Fire. I will be your illustrious host tonight. I'm joined by my brothers. That's your cue, brothers.
Clockwise, bro. Earth.
I thought it was always counterclock. What?
No, it's always clockwise, bro.
I thought it was diagonal. I thought it was diagonal, like tic tac toe.
Yeah, it's
I'm sitting here looking like, and all right, it's your
Yeah.
boy Earth.
And I'm water.
And I think I'm winning.
today only. For today only. Hey, Elementals, I'm gonna jump right into it, man. We got a juicy show for you tonight. On tonight's show, we'll be discussing. Some of you are very familiar already. You may have read it. If you read it, you got it in your library, go dust it off. If you haven't read this book that I'm getting ready to share with you all, I highly advise you go get it. If you don't get it, just download it on audiobooks, listen to it. It's a short read. The name of the book is called The Four Agreements. Okay. So The Four Agreements is a book that sold millions and millions and millions of copies. The author is a gentleman by the name of Don Miguel Ruiz. Again, that's Don Miguel Ruiz. And so on tonight's episode, I'm gonna walk. Listen, when I go, I try to get people as naked as possible, right? So sometimes we pontificate like, we know everything. And sometimes we just philosophize on certain topics and we talk about them at a high level from a very ethereal or theoretical conceptual place. This conversation, I'm going to attempt to get my brothers, as well as the elementals, to get a little bit naked, just a little bit, show a little leg. All right. So without any further ado, and good evening for everybody joining us on Facebook and YouTube or what have you. The first agreement. All right. This first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a description for those of you who haven't read the book. The first agreement describes the need to take responsibility for your own actions and to focus on speaking with integrity and choosing your words carefully. It emphasizes a more old school look at the word impeccable, which means without sin. In other words, what you say and do should not go against yourself and should always be done with personal integrity. I'm going to take a pause right there and I'm going to share. I will say this without a shadow of a doubt, unequivocally, in any area or time in my life. In the hood, they say word is bond. And what I can say is that when I'm being my word, like a living epistle of my word in any area, whether it's my marriage, my relationship with my children, my relationship as a leader in corporate America, with my friends, family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, my life just works when I'm impeccable with my word. But there's two things that I notice. When I first got present to being impeccable with my word and extreme ownership, I was excited about this newfound power to create. I was excited to see that when your actions and your word are congruent, that you can manifest just about anything. And so what I did was I started just like, it's like you get a new gun, right? You just start pew, 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 pew. You just start, give my word. Then I felt like I was a slave to my word. And what happened was, I realized that I was giving my word out too much because then I experienced overwhelm. And so then I began to use my word cautiously or carefully, right? So I'm going to pause right there. I'm going to go to Earth and ask, here's the question to the elements, my element brothers. When you became present to the power of the impeccability of your word, okay, how did you be with it? Were you similar to me or did you come out of the gate cautious, Earth?
When I became present to it, I was like you. But it becomes exhausting because for me, I just overdid it. And it becomes quote unquote burdensome because your word ends up being all over the place. And at some point, you got to cash in. And when it's time to cash in, sometimes things overlap. And then it causes you to not be impeccable with your word. because you're late for this, you're missing this, you're not meeting this, and everybody's like, but you said. I'm like, whoa, I know. And so it will it could be an overwhelm. But
Right.
however, what I learned over time is to be impeccable with your word is not obligation at all. That's what I've learned. It's not obligation, because the moment you notice that you are not able to fulfill upon whatever that is you made a promise with to do, or whatever the promise was, you need to state, you know what, things have changed. I'm probably not going to be able to do this, or let me do something. Let me re-promise. It's not going to happen at 2, but it can happen at 5. So you can, I've learned that you can actually go in and make adjustments easily, and it takes, quote unquote, the burden off with that in place. And if you're someone, I can say with me, there's never a time, and this is something that I work on, and I constantly work on it. I've been working on it forever. That's how it seems. There's never a time where I feel like I'm not able to do something. That's the problem.
Right.
I'm always like, oh, this is going to happen. And I'm always like, it's not going to happen until it doesn't happen. And I will push. And so sometimes I get caught in that trap. So for me, I just believe everything is going to happen. So yeah, that's where I am with that.
Makes perfect sense. When I was listening to you, Earth, thank you for that share and being transparent, right? Because sometimes, I think some of our viewers would be like, "Man, these dudes got all the answers, Sway." And I was reminded that we were all together at Waters' house. What was that, Tuesday? We was all at Waters' house, and it came up.
You must not remember. You must not remember if you're asking us.
I think it was it was a long week, bro. I didn't have much. I had like 6 hours of sleep in 5 days. And we talked about just being, a little bit more transparent here. So thank you. What I wrote down, Earth, was the re-promise still exists in the domain of impeccability with your word.
Yeah.
The thing that I really want you all elementals to get is that, like Earth said, things happen. I think what we have to be cautious of is when we overcommit. There's a difference between overcommitting because I actually thought that I had the capacity, and overcommitting because I'm frivolous.
Yeah.
My word don't mean a thing. So it's out. I ain't got no backing to cash those checks. I know I don't. I'm just saying that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be there, and then all of a sudden nothing's working, right? But the re-promise is very important. And that re-promise, the moment you realize you're not going to be able to keep that initial promise, boom, you get in communication, you re-promise, and now you're off to the races. So remember, I used to beat myself up, bro, on that point right there, that re-promise. Like, I didn't make the first promise, so now I'm not being impeccable with my word, and I'm out of integrity. I ain't SHIT, which is not
right.
True. Wind, water, what either you guys hearing?
Go ahead, Water.
Went's got a big smile on his face, like he's got something good.
Go
ahead, man.
I'm expecting something good from you.
Okay, that's what you expected, huh? That's what that smile's about.
That's what it is. I know you're gonna drop a bomb, right?
Nah, man. You guys, the way you're talking about being impeccable with your word is a little bit different than I interpreted it in the book. So you guys are talking about something that we experienced in a couple of courses that we did together. That's a little different than the way he describes it in the book, because what you guys are describing, I am very comfortable just giving a no when it's just a no. I mean, or you guys know that about me. You guys know that about me. And we've actually been in situations where I've said no, and I was almost lost my title as an element. Win remembers. That's why he's laughing. Win remembers. But you know, I think at the end of the day, my interpretation of the way he's describing it in the book is to be impeccable with your word, meaning that being intentional with your word. So he gives the example of a person who, in the book, he gives an example of a person who tells their daughter she sounds stupid when she's singing, and then the daughter, just because the mother was having a bad day at work, she came home in a bad mood, and she basically kind of said that to the daughter, and then the daughter literally never wanted to sing again in her life, and she was shy around people, and just that one defining moment really impacted her. And so I think that my interpretation is a little bit different than you guys. And excuse me, Fire, I know you have a format, and you already know I'm flowing like water, so the format's going to go a different direction or whatnot. But the way I interpret being impeccable with your word is more so being intentional with your word, and almost building either myself up or building the others around me up. So that if I tell someone, he gave another example in the book saying that, hey, you know, you look like the type of person that's about to get cancer or something to that effect. And then he said that he calls it poison. And, you know, he's just saying that your word can either be white magic or it can be black magic. And depending on how you use your word, you can basically spread poison to people, or you can spread the beauty of life to people. So that was kind of my interpretation of it all. And I think that if I gave examples of that, I think that going back to what you guys are saying, I think that it's very important that we actually are intentional with our word, whether it's in the context that you were talking about, or in the context that I'm talking about. I think that being impeccable with your word is a tool in our tool belt that so many people forget. And all we do is we go around spreading black magic towards each other, as opposed to building people up and spreading white magic to each other.
Man, that's why I got
the white shirt on tonight. And that's why Earth has the black shirt on tonight.
No, thank you for the represence, because I believe, and if you didn't say it, I was going to use the analogy between white magic and black magic, because that was explicitly stated in the book.
Well, I mean, really what happened, Fire, just shows that I read the book and you would have watched a YouTube video about the book or something.
Hey, that's partially true. Why you out with me?
Dude, I gotta call you out, man.
Hey, you read the book since Tuesday. As soon as I said what the show was going to be, you freshened up on. I ain't read that book in 10 years.
No, man, I've read it like 4 or 5 times or whatever. It's a really powerful book for anyone who really, it's a very, very powerful book, and it's something that you could really learn a lot from. If you really, I'm a type of person, when I read a nonfiction book that's something that I feel like is impactful for my life, I'll study it and I'll read it multiple times.
And that black magic, that the power of life and death lie in the tongue type of principle, it also applies to what Earth and I were pointing to, just to make me and Earth right about what we said.
Yeah. I know you want to circle back around to that. You want to make the book mean what you want it to. So go ahead.
It's all inclusive. It's all inclusive. What you got, Win?
So first of all, I want to say what's up, everybody. I did put the name of the book as well as the author of the book in the YouTube chat. But again, it's the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's beautiful what you just said, Water, because you just distinguished, between impeccability with respect to being kind and honorable versus integrity and honoring your word. And I think that both are pertinent to impeccability. I think you ought to be, we ought to be using our words with the intentionality of honoring it as well as uplifting people. So, I really appreciate what you just said. It's interesting, before I even was introduced to the book, back in the day, it's interesting that the people in my life as a kid, always made me like honor my word. They taught me, if I'm gonna say something, right, that I ought to, uphold what I said and be what I said. Also, I was also taught, if you don't have anything kind to say or anything positive or constructive to say, you need to, shut the hell up, and just be quiet. So, those lessons came before the book. So, to be honest with you, I've always, honored those paths.
I think you know what when this book has been out for a while, but in today's age where opinions are innumerable, especially on social media, and people just firing shots or just firing thoughts in comments and whatnot, it's it's a lot of black magic being spewed, right? It's a lot of negativity being spewed. It's a lot of curses, and by curse, I'm not talking about profanity. I'm talking about like death sentences or possibility killing type language, whether it's verbalized or it's written. Um, so this impeccability is important today, in my opinion, more so now than ever. So I'm gonna move to the second agreement. Before I do that, can I give a shout out to Mel Monique? Can you pull Mel Monique's comment from Facebook? Water, if you got the controls. Yeah, anytime we get a chance to get this is like a little, unsolicited testimonial. So this is Mel Monique coming to us from Facebook. Shout out to my sis. She says, I think y'all are more my speed. I was looking through my page today and I love the content. I missed the Zoom. That seems like it was really good. And yes, this is an amazing book. New Elemental in the house. Do I get to choose an element too? Hey.
Why not?
Why
Hey,
not?
why not?
Why not? Hey, we with it. Thank you for joining us, Mel. Tell a friend, tap in the Facebook page. There's gonna be a lot of chatter and whatnot going inside of the group, but the YouTube subscription is what we're really looking for. Okay, so go to the YouTube channel, smash the bell, subscribe, and follow us. All right. Thanks
Well, let's be
again.
clear. The YouTube
Hey.
subscription is what Wind is looking for. I think that's pretty evident. However,
Get in with
Well,
your
all of us are committed to making a difference, and the algorithm incorporates likes, shares, comments, and subscriptions. And so, as a function of that, we need everybody that is in the distance of our voices to go ahead and do exactly what Fire said. Smash the subscription button, smash that notification bell, and let's keep it rocking.
Let's keep it rocking.
Like you said, he really, he wants it bad. So please do him a solid. Do him a solid.
We're committed.
Real quick before I just have to get something out of my space.
Yep.
When you all say black magic, white magic, that just took my mind. And when you said white magic good, black magic is evil, from my perspective, black magic is the most powerful. White magic is temporary. There's no good or evil about it. It's just the power of the medicine. That's just from me. That doesn't exist.
It's just the language in the book.
Magic. But yeah, I get. I'm just saying when you said it, my mind went, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and that definitely is a bad label or whatnot, but that's what he uses in the book or whatnot.
In the book. Yeah. And then we could
there's a whole series of shows we could do on why it's called black magic and white magic.
That part.
But thank you for making that distinction, because that needed to be said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we didn't gloss over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad we got Water's gonna need some therapy after this show, man. He was riding high on the hog on that white magic, got his white t-shirt on and everything.
I came prepared, baby. I came prepared.
All right, agreement number 2. Speaking of this, do not take anything personally. Do not take anything personally. This agreement emphasizes the need to have a strong sense of your own self rather than relying on the opinions of others. I don't even like this summary. I'm gonna give you, my summary based on my interpretation of the book. So when I take things personal, I immediately have a physiological response in my body. And if it's a personal jab or a jab that I interpret as personal, then I'm ready to scrap. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Like I'm ready to throw down until the last man is standing. The reason why he says not to take things personally is just because of that. And so when I'm able to take things personal, this may sound a little crazy. And I'm interested to get y'all's perspectives, but when I don't take things personally, I almost there is no response or reaction, which sometimes trips people out, right? Because sometimes people push the buttons intentionally, and their expectation is that you're going to respond with that, like you talking to. But when I apply this principle, I'm like a sociopath in my, like, there's nothing going on. Like, was I supposed to, like, I don't know what you're trying to do there, but now I can use my logical brain, my rational brain, and respond to the stimuli appropriately and not really escalate the situation, but actually de-escalate situations. You know, I could think of examples with my wife. I could think of examples with my kids. Like, I think about the relationships that matter most to me, how these principles apply. When I take things personally, it gets out of hand. I'm not even gonna lie. With the kids, it gets out. It just goes like this. And Courtney be hitting for the hills, and the dog be barking like, y'all need to take it down a notch in here because she feels that the energy's messed up. I'm gonna spin it back to my element brothers. Think about how you react and how you be when you take things personal versus how you be when you do not.
Oh, this is good. So when I take something personally, I really say what's there for me. I need to say it as soon as possible. So, and I never point the finger and say you did XYZ, because I made the choice to take it personal for however I've interpreted what the person said. And I'll take a quick, for me it's quick. I'll take a really quick look, and I'm able to verbalize exactly what's there. I won't say you made me mad or mad, but like, you know what, actually that hurt my feelings. So if I can say what's really there, like that actually hurt my feelings, it all goes away. But if I sit there and I say something else, you made me mad, why did you say this, that was disrespectful, blah blah blah, it just builds for me. It just continues to build, because the more I say what the other person did, the more I'm like, yeah, that was wrong, yeah, and I just keep going and going. But if I just say, you know what, that hurt my feelings, that's a totally different conversation that I can have when I say that, as opposed to you did X. So that's what I've learned to do over the years.
Hold up now, Earth. We got to unpack this a little bit now, because, and I really hope that there's some brothers, some male elementals listening to what he just said. That hurt my feelings. That line right there is like a forbidden line in the domain of masculinity, traditional masculinity or toxic masculinity. The domain of toxic masculinity is like, you don't say that somebody hurt your feelings. Like, you know, that's powerful, man. Why don't you have anything going on about saying that?
Because I realized, I said, well, let me back up. I sat down and did some self-evaluation. I was upset one day and I couldn't shake it. And I had to ask myself, why can't I shake it? What is actually there? There's anger there, upset. And then I got, you know what? My feelings are actually hurt. I really got that. It was as loud as you and I are talking now. And I said, that's what it is. So I called the person back and I said, hey, you know what? Actually, no, I apologize for, going off and all that. And I said, actually, this is what's so. What you said actually hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And then I was free. And the way I felt after I said it, I had nothing going on. I didn't carry anything with me into the next minute, the minute after that, the next hour. It was literally gone in that moment. Once I distinguished and identified what it really was. So my mental well-being, my mental health is more important than my ego.
That
1,000 times more.
You know what? what I'm clear about, you didn't even care about, nor did you anticipate or expect an apology.
No. Mm-mm.
The acknowledgement was enough.
Right.
I'm free. I'm free. Water,
Well,
what you got, man?
this actually it's a building off of the first habit, which is so if someone else is not impeccable with their word, again, since Earth doesn't like the black magic, white magic thing,
No, you can say
we'll say poison, right? Like, so that's equal. That's synonymous to black magic. Okay, so we can not use that word again. But you messed up my shirt, man. You messed up my shirt. So the first so if someone else is not impeccable with their word, then what they're doing is they're spreading poison to you. And he literally says, if you take that poison, then you will basically be caught up in whatever it is that they were not impeccable with their word about. And not only have you taken that poison, but now you have to go spread that poison to someone else. So it's a really important piece, because what Earth is saying is that he's saying that the poison stops with me, which is a really clear way to distinguish when someone is not impeccable with their word and they're coming to you with whatever it is that they have going on. And by the way, I can't imagine Earth going off on someone, so I would like to get a front row seat on that one, because that would be interesting to see within itself. However, to me, that's really, a real key piece. And I'm kind of over in Fire's boat. I can't sit here and say, I'm not even going to pretend like that happens with me 100% of the time. However, if I were to be a little naked, if you will, I have told people that they've hurt my feelings before, and it was no problem with me saying, hey, that hurt my feelings. Whatever it was. And I'll tell them exactly. I'll go through and say, well, look, I was trying to do something nice for you, and you didn't even notice that. The first thing that you said was blah, or whatever it is. I'll actually work through it, because I think that's part of emotional intelligence. When you have emotional intelligence, you're not afraid to say, hey, I have feelings, because only robots don't have feelings. Yeah. Every human being on this planet has feelings, and men who try to pretend that they don't have feelings have just simply been conditioned that way. Right. And there's nothing wrong with you being conditioned that way. However, what the elements stand for is we stand for actually getting out of that conditioning.
I wanted to build on something real quick before we go. I want to go to Tatanisha's comment, and then I want to go to Win. And before we do that, while you're grabbing Tatanisha's comment, I want us to be mindful, especially the elementals watching as you're listening to the brothers. Be mindful of how the ego is cunning and can and will creep in, even to this distinction. Here's how. I bet each and every one of you can think of a time where a person who weaponized vulnerability. They weaponized it. So they would say, you hurt my feelings, or that hurt my feelings. Your response to that was, if you had some empathy, was, oh, I'm so sorry. And that person will actually use their feelings to manipulate how you show up or how you be with them. Be careful. Whether you're on the side of the person who's being manipulated, or you're the one who's saying, I'm going to take this distinction out into my real life, and I'm going to let people know that they hurt my feelings. And then you start doing that mess to get them to behave in a way that you want them to behave. Just be cognizant, be mindful.
Which is just taking the poison and spreading it, basically.
That's exactly what it is. All right, yeah. Tatanisha. So Tatanisha, hopefully I'm saying that right. She says, this was one of the hardest agreements for me to implement, especially when my integrity was being challenged. Unpacking it and taking full responsibility for my feelings about the situation frees me up to truly be this agreement. I'll say that last part again. Unpacking it and taking full responsibility for my feelings about the situation frees me up to truly be this agreement. That is incredibly well said, sis. That's facts. You know, because it's no our feelings aren't anybody else's responsibility. No one has dominion. You made me feel this way. So they was like, be mad, Shazam, and then you just all of a sudden was mad. Like what you did made me no. You felt that way because that's the way you felt. That was your body's response or physiological response to a stimuli. That's it. Just acknowledge it, as Earth said, and move on. Wayne, what you got on this topic, brother? Before we go to number 3, don't take.
Yeah, I want to shout out to T because she's been helping us share our content. So shout out to T. We really appreciate it. But before I read this book, I read the Bible cover to cover, and one of the things I came across, I want to believe it's in Ecclesiastes or Proverbs, but it talks about wisdom and being slow to offense. So when I read that, I pondered on that, sat with that, meditated on that, and I really got that, really to be a strong man is really to be slow to offense. Because if you allow people to emotionally manipulate you and react in a particular manner, and they sit back and laugh like they puppet masters, then you're a weak person. I really got that, a strong person controls himself.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And so when you talk about this particular principle, you talk about the unconsciousness of other people, and they don't really know exactly what they're doing. Some people are truly unintentional to create an upset or to create some kind of great disruption. However, there are some people that are in the world that intentionally cause confusion and function as devils. And I will tell you that even though I stand on the principle of being slow to offense, and I have more patience than all the hospitals in the world, if somebody is pressing me and persistently and intentionally, trying to cause some craziness around me, I will raise up like a damn monster, and I will be your worst enemy. And that's my word.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, let's check the profanity, guys. Seriously, keep it safe for work. And what I want to say, Win actually has a great point, because in the book he gives a great example, which is, it's kind of weird, but if you really, really look deeply, it makes a lot of sense. Because the whole time he's talking about don't take anything personal, he's saying it has nothing to do with you. Whatever anyone is doing or doing to you or saying to you has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with them and what they're dealing with, what they've dealt with in the past and what they're dealing with now. And he said that even if someone got a gun and shot you in the head, it has nothing to do with you. Yeah. And it has everything to do with them. And that's a hard one to actually sit with and be with, but it's exactly what Wynn was just actually describing when he's saying most of the time people aren't even intentionally trying to do something that you would take personal. It's just that whatever they have going on makes them do that and behave in that way.
I'm like a savage where I'm going to jail or I'm dying. So I really try not to go there to this tornado. This when goes tornado, like it's all bad. It's really bad, bro. Like, so I try my best not to go there. But to your point, Water, and to use the scriptures again, it just when you read that word, it's in you. So when you hear something, you hear a principle, it triggers, right? So the scripture says, whatsoever you do unto another, you've already done to yourself. So when your self-love is high, your self-esteem is high, your self-worth is high, your personal integrity and personal accountability is high, and you got more patients than all of the hospitals in all of the continents and all of the world, then that's how you respond and react to other people. But when there's a lot of self-hate and self-judgment and anger towards self, the moment somebody step on your shoe, you will shoot somebody in the face. Right? It's an outward manifestation of how you're treating yourself on the inside, man. So good, fantastic distinction, brothers. Number 3.
Well, hold on. I want to say this too is, I think that many of us are just downright petty, and we need to weigh things, right? We need to weigh things about like what's really important, what's really critical in this situation. Is it really critical that I react in this particular manner? What are the outcomes that we want? And, is my reaction going to give me the outcome that I really want? And we need to, if we keep that in mind, that will, keep us balanced through life.
Yeah. I got kids in a nice income to protect, man. If I can understand that if I didn't have responsibility and I operated in the domain of hopelessness because of whatever my interpretation of myself and my environment and myself in the world. So, man, keep watch. Everything is mental. All right, next. Don't make assumptions. Agreement number 3. So Ruiz highlights the importance of stopping yourself from assuming what others are thinking. Instead, asking questions and working to ensure that communication between yourself and another individual is clear are much better pathways for forging relationships. Making assumptions reveals internal biases and can easily create interpersonal conflict. Here's the thing about assumptions that tripped me out, right? When I got present to this distinction, when I read the book. Thank you, Water.
Well,
I was
you
literally
read it? You sure you read it?
I actually read it, bro. Okay. I actually read it. I was literally, and even to this day, when I think about, I'm literally one question with typically one person away from getting clarity and not making an assumption and potentially being off base. Like it's just like one question for clarification. Instead of asking that question, I'm gonna go ahead and make something up. With this agreement, and we've all heard it, when you make assumptions, you make an ASS out of you and me in the spirit of not using profanity. Water, can you see how you be or how you were when you make assumptions versus when you don't in response to an individual or with regards to an individual or situation?
Well, I like Earth has a great saying that he always says is that you're just making that up. And I really, really like that for this particular agreement, because when you make assumptions, when I make assumptions, I really am totally just making the entire thing up. I'm literally running a mental movie inside of my head about what could be, what should and ought to be, what might happen, what might go wrong, whatever it is. I'm literally making it all up in my head. Mm-hmm. And it's when I make assumptions, I don't, number one, I'm just not being in the moment. Number two, I'm not open to possibilities because I've already seen it. It is real in my head.
Right.
So to me, don't make assumptions means that just number one, you cannot make it up. You have to either allow it to happen or you have to open up some space to just give it space so that it can happen. Because if I make assumptions, then nothing is possible except for what I'm actually assuming.
Very well said. You want to piggyback on that?
I was just going to say, many times, what we're assuming has no basis in reality. And the truth of the matter is we have no idea about what somebody else is thinking ever, really, to be honest. You know, we think we know what they're thinking, but we really don't.
And it's crazy how
Yeah,
like
right.
you can see the whole thing play out in your mind. And I mean, the stress that comes along with that kind of just that level is just almost unbearable. And a lot of times for myself, when I'm actually making assumptions, I can notice myself, my breathing is short, my heart rate is up. Just I'm hot. I need to move around. I'm antsy. There's a lot going on as opposed to when I'm present, or if I'm just open to a situation unfolding the way that it unfolds, then none of that's going on. I cut you off, Earth. I cut you off, Earth.
Earth, before you go, I think there is some science you may recall that it's actually human nature to fill in the blanks. It is in our hard wiring to fill in the blanks when there is space by default. It's
Not
like
necess-
it's a survival mechanism. You know, so assumption. So I don't want as elementals are listening, I don't want you to start beating yourself up, demonizing yourself, shaming, guilting yourself for for taking things personally, making assumptions, and not always being impeccable with your word. That's not what this conversation is about. This is about mindfulness and awareness. And so know that part of your mammalian brain and your automatic success mechanism or automatic survival mechanism is to fill in the blank. Because if we walked around, we get air holed by some stuff. Like, you know, the mountain lions would have been had its way with us. We wouldn't even be here. Like you gotta make some assumptions. And I will say this as well: being real. And then I want to hear you are being real. Because of this book, I make far less assumptions that don't serve me. I make assumptions. I ain't going every day. Okay. Yes, I could ask questions. Yes, I can wait to see how things play out. But I make assumptions that serve me. Going back to that intentionality in number one. For example, have you ever been on a job interview? I have. Was on multiple job interviews recently. Now, after the first job interview, I said to myself, I made an assumption. I ain't getting that. I'm gonna get passed up. I'm not getting that. All right. Second job, I said to myself, what on God's green earth are you saying? What are you saying? You are putting intentions out there that you don't want to transpire, manifest. What are you saying? Long story short, didn't get the job. Learn from it. Had another interview about a month later. Even before the interview, during the interview, after the interview, I assumed that role was mine. This is me making assumptions, but this is an assumption that served me. It supported how I prepared for that interview. It supported how I showed up in that interview, and I got the result ultimately that I wanted. So I just want to make a distinction. Like, we got to get out of the domain of right and wrong, good and bad, black and white, dare I say it. And just be with things as though they are. Earth, what you got, brother?
So you know, assumptions are great, and when basically said what I was going to say, assumptions. There's nothing wrong with this. Assumptions are natural. We all do that. I think Fire said it also, but we all do it. That's how we survive. The trick bag is when you behave as though your assumption is true. That's the trick. When you behave as though your assumption is true, you are heading down a dangerous road, very dangerous road. Because you will get in an argument with someone, you'll fuss and fight with someone, you will make choices based upon something that's not even real. Because your assumption for you is true. And so all of your actions, all of your thoughts are centered around this thing is actually happening. But it's not. We all have met people like that, and we've done it. Everybody, I promise you, everybody's done it. And you set yourself up for disappointment. Because when your assumption is not true, then what are you left with? maybe some embarrassment,
Right.
you know, eating a little crow, whatever it is. And so that's the trick bag when you behave as though your assumption is true. For me, I'm very clear when I'm making something up. And I will say it before I say anything else. I say, you know what? I am making all of this up. Every bit of it.
Yes,
I'm
you
about to
do.
make it all up. It's not
Yeah.
even true.
Yeah.
And then I'll say whatever it is that I need to say. And still clear that it's not right. I just made that up. It's not real at all. Not at all.
So what say you on so I know your get down, but as a practice for the elementals, or what say you, because I'm gonna share with you. I was taught, conditioned, trained, right? I grew up in the church, y'all. Southern Baptist to non-denominational in the church. What we're the church has my church and my experience in church and my experience with the word, the Bible, was that faith is belief in things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. It actually, I was taught to be as though something already is when it in fact is not in the present moment. And we call this faith in action. We call this, faith without works is dead. So I'm moving and marching and being and doing as if the task, the goal, the idea, the end game is already complete. I just want to, for me, it's been a strong suit and it has worked, and it is something that I'm certainly not going to abandon because it has served me mightily. You make a distinction between what I'm saying with regards to making assumptions and being as though something is true that actually could have the desired outcome as a result of it. Because I think some people don't do that because they want to mitigate disappointment and letdown. See, if I have faith and I act like something's already done and it doesn't happen, then I'm mad at God, I'm mad at myself, I'm mad at the person who didn't give me what I wanted, et cetera, and so forth. But is there a distinction for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just not attached to it. That's the distinction.
That's the distinction.
I am not, I have zero attachment to it, none whatsoever. None. I just know that's something I just made up. It may or may not happen. And I can take actions to bring it into reality, but I'm still clear. It's made up. I'm not attached to it.
Gotcha.
And if it doesn't work, I have but I'm not attached to it. I have the freedom because there's no emotions involved to look at it and kind of start to massage it, and then say, okay, let me see if this will work.
Yeah.
Or whatever that is, and it's like, and one of the things that helps me also is that, and I'll speak, and this is just from me, right, coming from a traditional African perspective. There's no such thing as faith. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as hope. It doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is whether it is or it isn't. That's it. All the other stuff is just this gray area. It's kind of weird. It's a weird space to be in. And I never knew that it was a weird space to be in until I started existing in the realm of knowing. Like, we know, or back up, I know that in the same way I know 2 + 2 is 4. I don't hope it's 4. I don't have faith that it's 4. I know that it's 4, period, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so as I walk through life, and you all could try this on, walk through life from a perspective of knowing. It's a totally different way to live your life. Totally different. But I get what you're saying and how you grew up, how you were raised. I was raised the same way, completely. And that's, for me, it was not the best way for me to live my life, because living from a space of knowing, That's power. Period. Pure is power. Very powerful.
I think
So
it's
hold
important.
on,
Go
fire.
ahead,
Hold
go
on,
ahead,
hold
Warren.
on. So this is that's great that you just said that, bro, because what I really just heard you say is that when we hope and when we have faith, we're just making it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just making it up.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is by living in a by living in a state of knowing, what do you get out of that?
What I get out of, like, when you live in the space of knowing, I never have to exist in this gray area ever. And I never have to exist in this space of, it's sort of hard. It's not as easy to articulate, like being in this space of like not knowing, uncertainty, hoping something happens. Like that is when I look at it now, it's a very weird space to exist in. It's very weird. But when you're in it, it's normal. You just don't view it as being weird. And being in that space can also have you teeter on the edge of hopelessness.
Can I help you articulate?
Go ahead.
Now I get what he's hold on before you do that. When I get what he's saying, what and this is what my understanding is that you're saying is that you are able to live in a state of certainty.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Go ahead, Win.
And the reason why he's able to do that is because he's conscious. In the unconscious state, which is our lower level, right? We operate with the primitive brain and the primitive nervous system. And that causes us to have a propensity to dwell on negativity and worst case scenario. Whereas when you're conscious, when you're fully aware, you can see all things. You see all possibilities. The fact of the matter is that we're creative beings. So we can create negative and we can create positively, right? And so he's in the state of creating positively because of where he is in his life and his consciousness. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, man. And the comments are going off. Fire, we're running low on time, man. You want to hit these comments or just get to this last one so we can wrap up?
Man, it's a tough one. I'm gonna try to do both. So
All right,
I mean,
let's go.
We're not.
Let's roll.
All right. So let's do this. Let's grab Danielle's comment. Danielle said, "But when you believe, don't you know? Aren't you certain?" See, I'll answer, and then I think that question was directed towards Win.
You mean
When
Earth?
I hear Win talk about certainty, I'm sorry, Earth. When I hear Earth talk about certainty, in my mind, that's what I experience when I have faith. You know what I'm saying? Like words create worlds. I get it, but for me, Danny, when I believe, I know he says like, well, belief is like that's not a fact. I get it. I'm saying, and the only reason it's not a fact is because what I see for myself and my future hasn't manifested yet. Does that mean it's not a fact? Or does it mean it just hasn't occurred? Because I also experience deposits from my ancestors, from the divine, from the Most High, visions that I'm given that don't exist in the physical realm. And when I have faith or belief, I believe that the vision that was given to me is already done. It just has yet to manifest. So therefore, I walk it out. From Earth's disposition, his experience of that could be, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's knowing. That's me knowing. Where I'm at, that's when that happens to me. That's me knowing. For me, I'm using the words belief and faith, but I get that impartation. It's like it's already done. I'm just walking it out. I just personally I don't move without having the vision for something that I'm pursuing. I don't move without the experience of it being already done. I call that faith. I think he calls that knowing.
No.
Go ahead.
Absolutely not. No.
Go ahead, Eric.
That's what happens when you try to answer for someone else, Rob. Or
I said me. No, I'm giving it.
So I'm going to give existing in a space of knowing means that I already know the outcome. It's no different than when Wynn called us about the show, right? And what did I say? We need to do it by this date or X will happen. I know I didn't have faith it was going to happen. I didn't hope, nothing. I know exactly what will happen. That's a distinction. It's knowing. There's no shades of gray, zero, none. With faith, there's still possibilities. No, I didn't believe it was going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Look, the issue that we have in a Western from a Western perspective. So I've had the opportunity to fortunately to go and to sit and to be with traditional elders who taught me more than you can ever believe. In the West, we are literally spiritually retarded. I promise you we are. It's not a slight, it's the reality of it. Because we still live off of possibilities. You can have faith about anything, but underneath that is still a possibility that it will or will not happen. I'm saying knowing something is being able to see today and to see tomorrow what the outcome will be. There's a distinction. I promise you it's not the same. It is not remotely the same, not even close. And when you have this opportunity to see and to learn traditional knowledge, I promise you it will blow your mind. I promise you it will. No, there's no manifestation. We do not manifest. No, we don't. We from a Western perspective, we don't even have the language to articulate what it is. That's why I pause. Like, we don't have the language for it. We don't have the words for it at all. We don't. The only thing the closest thing we can come to, is manifesting. Oh no, it's actually faith. No, it's actually no, because that's all. Because our language is limited based upon the knowledge that we have. That limits your language. We don't have the language for it.
Is knowing not the language?
That's the closest we can have. That's the closest we can get to it is knowing. But knowing doesn't adequately describe what it is. Just doesn't. But that's the closest that we can get. It's Got just it. Like, everyone, this is this thing called a Noli Wuni. It's your star, right? And your star is like the closest thing we have in the West to a star is a guardian angel, or Noli Wuni. It's a guardian angel. But a star is about 1,000 times more powerful than our concept of a guardian angel. We don't have the language to actually articulate it. We don't, because we don't have the experience of it. If you don't have the experience of something, you cannot bring language to it. You cannot do it. It is virtually impossible. In the same way that within many traditions around the world, there's no such word as maybe. It doesn't exist. Either you're going to do it or you're not. It's not even in the language of many cultures around the world. They don't even have that word.
All right.
The word
all right.
try doesn't exist.
Earth, man, you need a whole show on this, bro. You need a whole show on this. I love it, but at the 12th hour, you start getting in the groove, and I love it, and I think that honestly, based upon the comments, like we need to show on that in particular. Like we just do. I don't think that we have enough time to cover because people are asking questions and all that stuff, and so that's just everyone save your comments because we're just gonna make Earth do a show on that in general. Because let me just say this: I'm not gonna sit here for another hour with you fools. Like I'm getting off of the show. It's Friday night. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
And we're at the 1 hour mark. You guys already know how I roll, man. 1 hour. That's what you got me for. You guys, this guy wants to go in the comment. People are actually like, "Hey, so what about this?" I'm like, no. We're not doing that tonight, yo.
Hey, Water, we done cut into some real personal time, huh?
Hey, for the love of all the people who have a life out there, all right.
Hey, bro, it was just getting juicy. So let's do this. I think the elementals have spoken.
Yeah.
I think someone made the comment that's what makes this pod rich. It's the diversity and perspectives. You got some neophytes, some retards, some spiritual retards. Pardon my language.
Yeah. Guys, stop that. Don't use that word for real.
Hey,
like,
my bad.
Do not do that. That's not cool.
Can you chastise us off camera? God darn it.
Nah, man.
Who was you? Somebody
you guys keep going in, man. You guys keep going in.
Man, do this.
You guys are like, dude, we do this every pre-show. We do this every post-show. No. We do this every so you guys aren't listening. So we got to do it on air. Like, bro.
Is it working? How's it going?
Hey, dude, I'm gonna keep doing it until you get it.
Keep cussing. How's it going?
Hey, go ahead. Keep cursing then. Go ahead. What's your next curse word?
I don't have no more curse words tonight. But hey, the elementals have spoken, Water. I mean, Earth. They want to hear it. The last one is always do your best. We won't go into it in the interest of time. Always do your best. This agreement focuses on uniting the previous three, emphasizing the idea that doing your best means that you will not negatively judge yourself, even if you fail. Ruiz claims that doing one's best is the greatest antidote to regret and will often lead to success, even in the face of great adversity. All I know is that when I do my best, even if it doesn't go my way, I sleep pretty good at night. And on that note, final comments. Let's start with Water so he can show us how to do it with brevity. And then we'll finish with win.
It sounds like Fire is taking what I said personally. And it was not my intention to spread black magic your way.
You got nothing? That's all you got?
I'm here to actually build you up, Fire, as well as the rest of the elements, man, and make sure that we are all in compliance with being safe for work and that we're not offending people out there. All right. So that's a real serious thing. And we're here for conscious masculinity. We're here for great, robust conversations. And we're here for you, the elementals who are actually watching us. The comments have been blowing up all night. We love you. We want to continue to spread this love. We want you to come into the Facebook, the 4 Elements United Facebook chat, I think is what it's called on Facebook, where we keep this conversation going. Because as Fire said, this is like church. You get this once a week. However, we want to make sure we keep this conversation going throughout the week. And I know Earth is over there laughing because the comments are just like the comments are going crazy, man. People are loving it. People are loving it. Yeah. So that's what I have. That's what I have. And Fire, I will be sure to not spread that poison anymore and no longer use black magic on you, man. It's gonna be white magic from here on out.
Yeah, man. Stop chastising me publicly, bro. You know, it hurts my feelings.
Okay, there you go. There you go. You know what? My apologies if I hurt your feelings, man. You know, I'm trying to, but I'm for the culture. I'm for the culture too. So if I have to hurt your feelings, you know, for the people, because I know that's Wind is about the people, right? So that's why he's smiling right now, because he knows. Look at him. He's about the people. Look at this guy. Look at Win. He knows. Look. Let me zoom in on him. Look. Go ahead. About the people right there. Look at him.
Danny said, "Now don't say church. We probably should ban church from being said too. Church is not a safe word. Church is disrespectful to the spiritual indigenous Ifa practitioners. They don't want to hear no more Bible scriptures. When they don't want to hear it, bro. What you got, Win?
To be honest, I am absolutely, for the first time, speechless. All I say is, if you want more fire like this, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and make certain that you join Earth with his 30-day challenge on Sunday. We're gonna upload that in the next few minutes. And Earth, take us out.
Yeah, so I was gonna do next week's show on like, do you have a say so? I mean, that was gonna be my show, but it sounds like the elementals want to continue this conversation. Y'all think so?
The domain of knowing, the distinction.
Knowing. It is a very powerful distinction, extremely powerful. So yeah, so I guess we'll talk about knowing next week. That's what we'll talk about. It's really a 5-minute conversation. It's not even a long conversation, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
It's short.
We want the elementals. Elementals, bring your perspectives.
Fire and water will stretch it out.
Danielle is tripping. That is funny.
All right, guys.
We got to go before water ends the call.
Yeah. In mid laugh, I shall hit the end button. Thanks everybody for joining tonight. It's the Elements out.
Peace.
Peace.